because that's what's going to lead to data points and dollars. It's not about, they're not just people with wallets. They're people, right? Like when I worked with a lot of online business owners, and at the time everyone was using PayPal for all their payments, I always said, like, they're not PayPal accounts, they're people. They have needs and wants and things that are important to them. Yeah.
That's right. Excellent. So, Val, when someone wants to get a hold of you, where should they be looking for? On what social media channel are you, or how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter a lot. That's kind of my main social channel. It's at Love Val Geisler on Twitter. And you can come message me there, tweet me and say that you listened to this, and any learnings that you had or questions that you have. I'm always happy to answer and be part of your community, and just really appreciate you having me, and my puppy in the background.
No worries. Excellent. So if you want to hear more about Val, you can follow her on Twitter, love Val Geisler. And if you want to get more knowledge from her, you can check our CVO Academy. She has a full course as a part of the CVO Academy. She's talking about Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of the CVO Live. It's my pleasure and honor and joy to have here Val Geisler from Klaviyo. Hello, Val.
Hi, Valentin. How are you?
I'm fine, and I just realized that we're let's say we're sharing almost the same name. It's just
we're both Val.
Yeah, which in Romanian means wave, right?
Waved, is that what it means?
Yeah, wave.
That's
exactly.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. I also like waves, and thankfully it's finally spring here and we have some sun, so basically we could see some waves at the seaside in a few weeks from now.
Are you close to water where you are?
Yeah, since the highways is done finally, we can we're doing something like 1.5 hours to the seaside.
Oh, and that's not bad at all.
Yeah, not at all, exactly. All right, so basically what we're going to speak about is something related to the customer lifetime value and email and a lot of cool stuff, segmentation and all that dance. So before diving into these topics, Val, why don't you share with our audience how you got first into the email marketing space? What pulled you to this space?
Yeah, sure. So gosh, I have worked with online business owners of different types for the last decade, and spent a lot of time in working with people on their kind of customer onboarding, the way that they brought people into their business. And email is a huge piece of that. So kind of happened naturally that most of customer onboarding happens through email. Now SMS, 10 years ago, it was just email. And so now it's a combination of the two, but email was the focus. And I ended up working at an ESP for a little while and getting to know the SaaS side of things. So understanding how the software world worked, and then really, and then understanding email inside and out. So prior to that, I was just knew it as an operator, someone who built emails. But then I got to know the SaaS side, the deliverability and the impact, and also seeing thousands of different accounts and ways that they were using email marketing. And so when I left there, I did some consulting and freelance work as an email marketing consultant, and focused on onboarding and that new customer experience. So what was the welcome flow like? What was their onboarding like? And then over time, what is the retention like for your customers, and their, the way that you bring them back again and again? That became really important to me. And so worked with SaaS and then e-commerce brands towards the, the last year I've worked at CVO, and but prior to that, the last few years before that, I was working mainly with e-commerce brands, and that's how I got to know CVO a lot too.
That must have been, let's say, eye-opening, because what I think is that e-commerce companies should learn more from the SaaS companies in terms of onboarding their customers and becoming truly customer-centric. I do have the feeling that e-commerce companies are still behaving like those traditional retailers that are order-centric, right? They put some products on their shelves and they expect out of the blue someone to come to pick up the products, which of course is not the case. Are you in this direction, oriented towards this direction as well, that software as a service is actually way ahead in terms of this kind of methods than the e-commerce world?
Yeah, I think actually that's how I got into e-commerce. Was I had a client who was a subscription-based brand. I mean, obviously sold one-offs here and there, but really focused their brand operation around subscriptions. And they recognized the very clear connection between what SaaS does, as 99% of SaaS is a subscription basis. So, that world has subscription and customer retention. I won't say nailed, because I think everyone can learn something, right? But it's definitely at the forefront of the way that SaaS businesses operate when it comes to email marketing. So I had a e-commerce customer client who recognized that kind of carryover and said, hey, can you come do what you do for SaaS businesses for our e-commerce business? So of course I had to learn like the differences. Obviously they operate in different ways, a physical product versus a digital product and all those things. But there's so much that SaaS or e-commerce can learn from SaaS. And then vice versa, SaaS from e-commerce. I had a conversation with someone the other day about, in the world of grocery products, the CPG world, there are about 10 brands that own basically the entire grocery store. So the parent companies that have all these other brands that we live inside of them. And as consumers, we embrace that in that world. Like, of course, Kellogg's owns all of these other brands, and P&G owns all these brands. And we don't complain about that as grocery consumers. But when it comes to SaaS, like, kind of the meta experience has become like a very big point of contention in the community of like, well, so now Meta owns Facebook and Instagram and everything else that they own, WhatsApp, WhatsApp and all this, right? Like this kind of idea of a parent company and lots of other companies inside of that. We don't like it as much. And it's interesting. Like why do we like it in e-commerce, but we don't like it, or in commerce, and we don't like it in SaaS? And then, so I think that there's a lot that SaaS can learn from e-commerce about like the way that they operate. But then, e-commerce has so much to learn from SaaS on, especially if you have a subscription model. And I feel like subscriptions are more and more common, even for products that you wouldn't necessarily think would be on subscription. Yeah,
where the purchase frequency is not that precise, let's say. I mean,
or not a consumable, like Bombas is a great example. Bombas sells socks to people every single month. You're not going through socks every single month. I mean, I hope you're not, but they have a subscription and it works, so there is a lot. There's a lot that e-commerce can learn from SaaS and carry that over into the way that they do business, and especially email marketing.
Val, I want to touch the subject of customer segmentation, RFM segmentation. What's your take on this? Because there are, on one end, it's clear that you need to segment your audience. On the other hand, there are brands which are, let's say, swamped into TikTok ads and doing that and doing the other. So basically, it's not that sexy to do customer segmentation and have two onboarding flows for the best customers with the highest potential that just bought, and for the customers which are not there in terms of the initial purchase. What's your take on that? And why do you think e-commerce companies should focus more on segmentation?
Yeah, so it's tricky because I always want to encourage people to do segmentation, but then I also know that that can feel very overwhelming. And when you if you listen to enough podcasts or read enough blogs, you start to realize segmentation can go really deep. You can have very intense segmentation in lots of cases, and I think it scares people off of doing it at all. It's like, well, no, I'm not going to be able to do all of that. So I'm just not going to do anything. And I feel like that's kind of the wrong mindset to have. Segmentation can be as simple as I order a protein supplement, and there's this one word that they add to an email that this is segmentation. When I buy from them the first time, they say thank you for your purchase, and I get a post-purchase flow. When I bought from them the second time and the third time and every time after that, I got an email that said thank you for buying from us again. That one word again tells me I'm in a different group of people that you're emailing, because I now have purchased from you twice. And so segmentation can be as simple as that. People who have bought from you once, people who buy from you multiple times. So you can start there, or you can start with people who have never bought from you and people who buy from you. So, it doesn't have to be this really deep, like getting into, men and women and where they live and which products they buy and, like all these different ways that you can segment. Sure, if you want to do that. Absolutely. I'm not trying to discourage that level of segmentation, but I think like start with something small and see how that impacts things. And then what it often does is it creates more revenue, which allows you either more time or more people on your team who can then continue to do more segmentation, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I think like just keeping it really simple to start, make it manageable. What can you do in an afternoon? What can you do in the next 2 hours that will be segmentation? Separating out your existing customers from your non-customers or your multiple purchase customers from your one-time purchasers. Those things make a big difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's the, let's say, real example of you should walk before you run, because if you try to run from the very beginning, you might have some problem as a baby, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard for your customers too, because if you aren't confident in what you're doing with segmentation, then you can end up putting people in the wrong segments or, getting them a little bit confused about the messaging that they're getting. So you want to keep it simple, build up the confidence for yourself in the ability to do segmenting and the impact that segmenting has on your business, and then go from there.
Yeah. Val, in your part of the CVO Academy, you mentioned the lapsed customers. You call them zombie customers. Give us some context about this type of customers.
Yeah, zombies are my favorite customers to kind of win back. So zombie customers are the customers who purchased from you not once, but for a period of time. So I'll take my protein supplement example. If I were a zombie customer of theirs, I would have purchased from them for 6 months. So every month or every 2 months, whatever that cadence is, I'm buying from them for, maybe 6 or 7 times. And then I just stop. And after 2 or 3 months goes by, the brand starts to realize, oh, Val's not buying from us anymore. Well, that's strange because she was buying on a pretty regular cadence, for a good period of time. And zombie customers that's like the definition of how they operate, is that they'll be a subscriber, they'll buy from you on a regular cadence, and then they just kind of disappear. They walk off into the night. And they're fun to win back because they already know your product so well. They're really great customers to talk to because they know your product, but they stopped buying it. So you could want to understand why that happened. They at one time loved it. They loved it enough to keep buying it. And then something happened where they stopped. So you want to understand why that happened. So those are my favorite customers to go and interview.
Yeah,
And then, they need segmentation, right? So they need custom messaging that helps them come back, because there's no need to re-educate them on the product unless the product has drastically changed since they left. You don't need to tell them all the things that they already know. They bought the product for 6 months, but you need to find a different way to bring them back, and you won't really know that way until you go and talk to them.
perfect. I love it, and I love that you've mentioned the talk with them part, which is one of the most disregarded part of marketing. I strongly believe that customer research is an important component of marketing and should be the first, right? Because if you don't know who you are selling to, why they are buying what you're selling, and what makes them come back and buy again, you are shooting in the dark with your creative ads, because or with the new sexy channels which are emerging nowadays. So tell us a bit about your favorite ways to do customer interviews and customer research.
Yeah, I mean, your job is just exponentially easier if you talk to your customers. They write copy for you. They tell you exactly what problems to point to, in your ads. They write email subject lines and button copy and all those things just through their words. So it speeds things up to go and talk to your customers. And I always hesitate to say talk to your customers, because I think people take that quite literally and they go and they just talk at their customers. I've listened to so many calls between brands and their customers. When I was a consultant, I would have clients who said, "Oh yeah, we talk to our customers all the time," and then I would go and listen to the recordings, and it was, there's like the bar at the bottom that says who's talking each time, and it's like 80% the brand talking and 20% the customer talking. Well, that's not talking, that's talking to at your customers, not with your customers. And so customer interviews are really a lot more listening than talking. It's asking questions that help them talk and get to where you're trying to go. The purpose of your interview is going to be different depending on your outcome, like your projected outcome. And actually, we just wrote a big blog post on CVO about how to approach customer interviews and setting your intention and all of that. So I'll send you that link. But it's interviews are so important to know what your planned outcome is. Like, what are you trying to figure out? Are you trying to figure out why they stopped buying? Are you trying to figure out why they never bought in the first place? Are you trying to figure out why they keep buying all the time? Are you trying to figure out what problems they're solving? Maybe you're like pre-product and you're trying to figure out what problems they're solving or trying to solve, and that you could potentially help with. So there's all kinds of different ways to interview, but understanding that you're going to ask some questions, and then the hardest part of customer interviews is just sitting back and letting them talk. And holding space for them to keep talking, because there's this thing that happens with human beings where we want to fill in empty space. So we go and keep talking when the other person's being quiet. So if you, as the interviewer, just ask a question and kind of sit back and let them talk, and then even when they're done talking, wait and let them keep talking, they'll fill the space. And you get such good information from those moments where you just stop and wait for them to keep talking.
Yeah, that's it was that saying that I'm too preoccupied to let you hear what I'm thinking, that I'm not listening to you. And I think that happens in couples also, right? The happy couples are the ones which learn to listen. All right. So about this customer research, of course, we do have Bob Mesta's take on the jobs to be done. We do have a few great success stories by applying jobs to be done with the email marketing, and I want to share with you and with the audience as well. So once you know the jobs to be done with the in-depth customer interviews, let's say you are selling. We have a customer which is saying paint by numbers, right? So they are selling this type of canvas, and you actually paint by numbers. And based on what they've learned from the jobs to be done, they realize that people are trying to to get rid of their solitude, right? So I want to paint so that I can not feel alone anymore. So there is one job. On the other end, there were on the other end of the spectrum the same product, but it was for the ones which tried to prove themselves that they are worthy and they are having some art skills in themselves. So according to these two jobs to be done, you can the brand is building sequences, tagging customers according to that, and following up on the email, helping them make progress, because you can't expect to sell this type of paint by numbers canvases if customers are not making progress in their lives. And if they are making, in order to make progress, you need to remind them every here and there. So what I'm now working with one of our customers, which are using this type of method and the RFM segments, is to build a contract that they are signing with themselves that they are going to finish the painting in 1 month. And that's justifying the follow-up. So it's basically, yeah, you told me that I want to finish this painting, and now it's a JavaScript that you're using to put your signature on the screen, and then boom, you can follow up just to remind, hey, Joan, how's your painting doing?
That's so fun. I love that very unique way to get people to kind of commit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's those unique ways of keeping people moving, understanding the motivation comes out of those jobs to be done interviews. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I guess that's the best use of email, by the way, because it's such a good channel. It's not like the gods of internet offered email for free, and then Facebook and social media stepped in. But it's such a personal way to communicate, and I think email is undervalued. I mean, of course, at the other end of the spectrum, we have the brands which keep on broadcasting. Here's a 5% discount. Here's a 10% discount, and I think email might be used for that, but that doesn't mean you have to use it only for that. So basically, that's a big no. And you as a, what's your take from your perspective? You have access to a lot of data. How big is this problem of brands which are, let's say, having this one way of communicating discounts?
Yeah, I mean, I think defaulting to a discount, it puts you in a tight position as a brand because you can't take that back. So, I talk to a lot of brands who don't do discounts or do them once a year, and they feel like they are really in a position where anytime they want to, if they ever want to, they can add a discount. And then it's like, it's something special because their customers recognize that that's not something that they do all the time. When you offer a discount, oftentimes right off the bat, so offering a discount in order to get an email address is a common one. Offering a discount immediately on the first abandoned cart email, all these things are pretty common practice. I don't know that they're a best practice though, because what you do is you set your customers up to understand, your customers are learning about your brand. And they're going to learn what you tell them. So you can tell them about how a paint by numbers is going to help you connect with your inner artist and all the customers that you have who have had that experience. You can tell those stories, or you can tell them, we're going to give you a discount every time you open your email. And your customers are learning. They're not dumb. They're learning.
Yeah.
How many people, there was a whole thing, multiple articles over the last couple of years where they called it, I don't remember, there was a word for it, but people were abandoning carts left and right. It was like a pandemic hobby, was go sign up for emails and then abandon the cart to see if you get a discount. And that's like very common practice. I mean, I know I do it because it's so common that brands are offering discounts on the other side of an abandoned cart. Yeah. Where, I think it's our responsibility as brands to kind of retrain consumers to not expect a discount every time they turn around or open their inbox, but to know that that what they're going to get is education. So yeah, you're educating your customers one way or another. And the question is, do you want to educate them to understand that you are a discount brand?
Yeah, which is actually devaluing your brand, and the perception that customers are going to have about you is not going to be easy to change. It's like you don't have the second chance to have the first impression.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So Val, going a bit on the other part of our conversation, you've been focusing on customer retention for D2C and e-commerce brands. Can you share with us a few, let's say, insights about how the e-commerce brands could retain their customers? Some things that you have seen working, either you think those should definitely work for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because I get this question all the time of like, what should everyone be doing? And it's what everyone should be doing is talking to their customers, because your customers will tell you what will work for your brand. Yep. As a consultant, I got a lot of people coming to me and saying like, oh, we want to do emails just like Glossier, or we want to be like Equinox. And it's like, well, there are a lot of reasons why that's not possible. One is kind of just like brand recognition. Two is like usually those larger brands have like multiple person email teams. They are doing custom development and all those things. And three is just like your customers, you're selling paint by numbers. They're selling makeup or fitness. It's a totally different, I mean, there might be some crossover between the customer base, but it's a different reason to purchase. So you can't duplicate what another brand is doing and call it your own and expect it to be successful. You have to understand who your customers are. So instead of telling people like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, definitely have a post-purchase flow, have some abandoned carts set up, like those kinds of standard things that when you log into your account, or, you know, as a consultant, I saw a lot of like, hey, here are some big misses that people I'm seeing across the board. The biggest one was that I would see everyone had post-purchase flows. So like a email flow that would go out after somebody made a purchase. But a lot of times it wasn't what I love to see is separating it out from after the purchase to the product is delivered. So that's like an education period. That's getting people prepared for the product to arrive. And then a second post-purchase flow is after the product is delivered. Then you can start to do, more education, introducing them to other pieces of the brand, encouraging your next purchase, those kinds of things. So that's kind of like, I feel like everyone can do that. The content of those emails is going to be different. But the number one thing that I think every single brand should do is go talk to your customers. Yeah.
I also want to touch on a subject which is important about listening to your customers, which is the NPS.
Oh yeah.
Meaning, I think that there is this broken cycle where customers are supposed to come back because that's gravity, right? So they think that brands think that they've built a magnet and people are going to be always drawn to their shops, which is not the case. And I think it's a customer experience. It's a constant loop of learning and constant loop of, let's say, changing and adapting to the changing demand of the customers. So one of the important aspects is that unless you close the loop, you have a first-time customer and you do the follow-up with the email and you check if they are happy about their products. But what's your take on NPS and how you think this can be leveraged to deepen the relationship between the brands and the customers?
I have some thoughts. 1 second. I have a puppy and he's in a place he's not supposed to be. So hang on 1 second and I'll come talk to you about NPS.
No worries. So don't go anywhere. Val is coming right now. Or should we do like abandonment email for the viewers? No, we don't have to because Val is back.
Okay, thank you.
Such a relief, right?
He's little, he's 2 months old, and so he just goes, he sneaks away when he thinks I'm not looking. He sneaks off
Yeah,
to chew on the kids' toys.
yeah,
Yeah, NPS is a really fun measure. I think that there aren't a lot of e-commerce brands that are utilizing NPS. So now he's going to play with his noisiest toy while I'm talking. Uh, and so I would love to see more brands. This is that example of how e-commerce brands can do what more SaaS brands are doing, right?
yeah,
SaaS brands are really good about sending out NPS, and then understanding the feedback and processing that and sharing it with the company. I don't see as many e-commerce brands doing this, and it's such a valuable piece of information. I wouldn't say it's the number one thing you need to know. I think that talking to your customers, understanding the words that they use, all of those things is more important than a ranking on a scale of 1 to 10. Because that's also pretty subjective. Like there are human beings in the world who will never give anything a 10 out of 10. But in the
yeah,
world of NPS, it's very important that you have a 9 or a 10. And it's
yeah,
like, there are people who will never stand up and applaud at a theatrical show or
yeah,
an opera or something. You know, they're never gonna give a standing ovation because they feel like that's reserved for like true excellence.
yeah,
And so, but we're saying, well, a 9 or 10 is actually, that means we're doing really good, not just reserved for excellence. So there are flaws to NPS. But I
yeah,
think like understanding the scale as a whole, and then to me, the most important part of NPS is the insights that people give you. So for people who aren't familiar with NPS, ranking 1 to 10, and then there's also a box where they can leave open feedback, and that feedback is so valuable and important. And actually, one thing I love to do is to take that feedback and spit it back to the customers and say, hey, especially when it's positive, hey, this is some feedback that you left for us. And you can ask them to do things with it. So you could say like, hey, could you really like this feedback? Could you go leave it as a review on our review site?
yeah,
Or, you know, can you take this feedback and share it with a friend, drop it into this email. And, you know, there's all different ways that you can ask people to not just share the feedback with you, but then become advocates for your brand through
yeah,
reviews or referrals. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is the feedback that is more on the constructive side. And you can take that opportunity to get on calls with those customers. They already were willing to fill out this form and share feedback that way. So they're pretty likely to get on a call with you and spend some time, especially if you incentivize it in some way. Those are customers who have really valuable insights for you, and whether they become customers again or you know, share your brand with anyone else, I think like we need to see those kind of detractors as important as our promoters. So a lot of times we write off detractors like, oh well, they gave us this negative feedback, and well, it might
yeah,
be true, we're just not going to pursue them anymore. They have so much to share with us that might win them back, but also might help us in the future, will definitely help us in the future.
yeah.
Not just about winning that one customer back or their individual experience, but how does what they share help you learn and build the brand for the next set of customers?
Yeah, I totally agree, Val, and I also can add here that I see NPS, if it's well used, as a Swiss knife. So you can use it to fix a broken customer journey. You can use it to change the copy on your website. You can use it to improve the creatives. You can use it to do customer retention, you know, because you can also be proactive. After someone is giving you a 0 out of 10 or up to 6 out of 10, so you have detractors, then you can automatically trigger a ticket to the help desk, so that you're transforming your customer service from being reactive to being proactive. And I also find that it's interesting that many companies which are doing NPS, they are not simply following up on pissed off customers, which I think it's even worse than not asking them anything in the first place, because you write like, I don't know, 10 sentences about what was wrong, what could have been done better, and so on. And eventually the brand never responds. It's like the good old days when they've done this market research every 6 months, and you are being asked something, but it's like you don't have to, you can't talk to anyone.
Yeah, it's NPS. It's also in reviews. So all your product reviews, there are so many brands who just take those 1 and 2 star reviews and don't do anything with them. And it's such an opportunity to go follow up with that customer, talk to them. A lot of times they won't respond. They did their venting in the review and now they're over it and they've moved on, and that's fine. But it is your job to do the due diligence and reach out to that customer, express interest in hearing more from them, give them the opportunity to expand on what they were sharing in the review. And honestly, like, this is something that we do a lot of. When people leave those reviews and then we address their issue, they'll go back and they'll delete the review or they'll edit it to be more positive, to reflect their true experience. So it only benefits you. Like, it has kind of compounding benefits to go talk to those customers, because you get all this valuable information you can use from a marketing and sales standpoint. I mean, even down to like product descriptions, you can put concerns people had, you can address those in the product descriptions on your website. So you get all of that information, but you also have an opportunity to impact the like online reputation of, the way that they are talking about your brand. Because if they leave a negative review or a negative NPS, and you don't do anything about that, that's their last experience with your brand. And whenever anybody else asks them about your brand, that's what they're going to share. But if you follow up on it, if you get a chance to talk to them, if you can do whatever you can to rectify that situation, then that's their last experience with the brand, and hopefully not their last. But if somebody asks them about the brand, that's the experience they're going to share, versus just like their own negative experience in a vacuum.
That's right. I totally agree. Val, regarding the email marketing, the future of email marketing, where do you think this is going? How do you foresee the future of email marketing, and what excites you in email marketing right now?
I mean, consumers are no longer willing to accept generic messaging, right? So personalization is very important, and it's only becoming more so. And I don't mean like those ads that follow you around the internet when you look at a pair of shoes and then everywhere you are, there's more that those shoes show up. We've gotten rid of a lot of that with some of the iOS updates and recent changes online. But I think some of those kind of stalkerish vibes still happen in email too. Creating personalization experiences is about, talking to your customers about what they're interested in, utilizing what they click on, what they, how they respond to emails, offering ways for them to kind of self-segment. So, we talked about segmentation a long time ago. There is an opportunity to not have to do it yourself. You can ask your customers to do it for you. So you can offer buttons and links inside of your emails that help them say, here's what I want to hear from you about, or here's why I'm here in the first place. I'm here to buy a gift. I'm here to shop for myself. I'm here to just, look around and get to know your brand. Then you can create messaging for those groups. You don't actually have to do the segmentation, but creating those personalized experiences, you see more and more websites that have quizzes on them, right? Like, you go to buy face wash and you can't get past a quiz of like, what kind of skin do you have? What environment do you live in? How old are you? All these things. Well, all that's data that company is now collecting. And if they're doing the right thing, they're not just collecting that data, they're using it. They're using it to create those personalized experiences to say, hey, here are emails with not only information about people in your age range, but now I'm also going to show you images of people in your age range. So skincare companies, this is an area where it's like ripe for this. You know, where you might serve customers from in their 20s to in their 60s. And if you know somebody is 50 to 60 years old, you can show them images of either user-generated content or models who are in that age range, and they'll start to feel more connected to the brand versus a 20-year-old seeing images of 20-year-olds. So, you know, all those opportunities for personalization is where email is starting to go right now, and is absolutely the future of customer messaging in general. You know, customers are tired of generic messaging and they want something that is custom to them. So that's really where we need to be headed as brands.
Fantastic. Val, I want to, let's say, chat about a dear topic to me. Now we have this iOS 15 showing up, which is giving a hard time to many e-commerce brands. ROAS is going down. They are turning their heads towards email. They misuse the email because they see it as an acquisition or only as an acquisition channel. But there is this debate about acquisition versus retention, which is, I think it's, you need the cold water or you need the warm water. You need water, right? It's like acquisition, conversion, and retention. But what I want to touch is this, the topic of customer retention versus customer lifetime value optimization. Because if you, let's say, trick customers into placing the second order, is not the same as establishing long-term relationships and doing life cycle marketing, like making customers buy over and over again.
Yeah, it's true. Customer retention can be just like hang on to every customer with dear life and like hold on, you know, never let them go. Customer value, lifetime value optimization is really about creating that relationship where they understand your brand. They want to do more with you. They feel, I mean, look, all human beings want is to feel seen and heard. That's like every psychology book in the self-help section of the bookstore. That's what they all say. That's like, you boil them all down into one sentence. But that's truly what all humans want. And if you can do that, that is customer lifetime value optimization. Of course, you want a product that people enjoy and that adds value to their life, and you can show them examples of how that is happening for other people around them, right? Like that's user-generated content and case studies and testimonials, and showing that value of the product and how it's paid off for other people. But ultimately, if you can help them feel seen and heard and like they are understood by you as a brand, then they're sticking around for a long time. And you know, a lot of that is everything we've talked about today is, you know, going and talking to them, following up on their feedback, you know, creating segmentation opportunities. All of that adds to that customer lifetime value.
Excellent. Yeah. One aspect about customer lifetime value is that it's about the value that they are getting, the customers are getting, not the value that you are trying to extract.
Yes.
And, many marketers forget that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's always like, I was in a conversation the other day about like, oh, well, you know, these pop-up forms aren't loading fast enough and people are leaving the site before they ever even saw the pop-up. It's like, as a consumer, do you really want to land on a website, have a pop-up immediately, not even have a chance to look at the website, and then, you know, have that experience of the brand, or land on a website, have a chance to look around a little bit, maybe see a pop-up or like a slide in or something like that, where it's a little bit more customer centered. It's not about grab that email at all costs, but it's like, how do I create an experience where somebody wants to give me their email address because I'm respectful of their time and space, you know?
Yeah, that's right. And I think this, maybe we can touch a bit this subject. There is this new school of thought that it's justifiable to give a $20 voucher in exchange for the email, because after that, you are not going to to give discounts anymore, as you have the customer and you can chase him or her with the emails. And what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think like that's again, like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot to do that, right? You're offering that discount right up front. That's what your customers think your brand is about. And then they actually expect you to kind of double down on that and say like, oh, well, if a 10% discount didn't work, how about 15? Because that's what brands have trained consumers to do. So, you know, I always suggest, like, especially in the case of like an abandoned cart flow, maybe start with, don't jump into like, hey, did you need a discount in order to complete your purchase? Just ask them, like remind them, hey, oh my goodness, you didn't complete your purchase. And, you know, here's some people who have bought what you were looking at, and it can help them understand a future state where they have your product. And then if they aren't still converting, then you can offer a discount or a dollar amount or something like that. But I think just like jumping in, it just establishes the relationship in a really weird way.
Yeah. Last question or last topic that I want to touch today, Val, is we are seeing that more and more agencies in this, let's say, battle chasing for customers, they are, let's say, specializing themselves into email, into PPC. And on the other hand, we have agencies which are waking up to the idea that they should be more strategic. They should help their customers, which are the e-commerce brands, about their own business. So what I think it's not written in the clear on the briefs that the customers, the e-commerce brands are giving to the email marketing agencies or to the PPC agencies, is also help me grow my business no matter the channel. And I think this siloed approach is harming the e-commerce brands, because I think those should be in sync. I mean, for the customer, it doesn't matter that you are touching him or her with the email, with the SMS, through the website. So basically, you should be orchestrating a customer journey which is relevant no matter the touch point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's so funny because there's so many brands who and agencies who say like, oh, well, we're all about the customer. But then when it comes down to it, it's really about the dollars and
open rates, CTRs, revenue per recipient.
And results, right? Like a lot of agencies are focused on give me that like high-powered, you know, beautiful case study. Well, case studies can be great. Like you can have all the data in the world and the numbers, and it looks amazing. Oh, we increased revenue by 300% or something. But at what cost, right? Like, are those customers sticking around? I would so much rather see a case study about what happened a year after you did that. Is the revenue still there? And of course, like, yes, that takes longer to produce, and it takes longer to get all that data. But ultimately, it's like, if you're doing marketing just for data points and dollars, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong. It has to be centered around the customer and their experience, because that's what's going to lead to data points and dollars. It's not about, you know, they're not just people with wallets, they're people, right? Like when I worked with a lot of online business owners, and at the time everyone was using PayPal for all their payments, I always said, like, they're not PayPal accounts, they're people, you know, they have needs and wants and things that are important to them. Yeah.
That's right. Excellent. So Val, when someone wants to get a hold of you, where should they be looking for? On what social media channel are you, or how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter a lot. That's kind of my main social channel. It's at Love Val Geisler on Twitter. And you can come message me there, tweet me and say that you listened to this, and any learnings that you had or questions that you have, I'm always happy to answer and be part of your community. And just really appreciate you having me, and my puppy in the background.
No worries. Excellent. So if you want to hear more about Val, you can follow her on Twitter, love Val Geisler. And if you want to get more knowledge from her, you can check our CVO Academy. She has a full course as a part of the CVO Academy. She's talking about a lot of things, among them being zombies and other kind of customers. Thanks a lot for being today with us, Val, and may we hear good things from one another.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks for having me today.
Excellent. Bye now.